Today I'm going to show you how to use the BLUEGHOZT app.
The BLUEGHOZT module is definitely the best controller for adjustable LED, but it can be a little confusing if you've never used the app before. So I'm hoping that this video will help anyone out there who is trying to use the BLUEGHOZT app for the first time.
Start, you just open your BLUEGHOZT app and you should see a pop-up just like that. If you open your app and there's nothing there, press scan again. It's going to start scanning for ghost modules, and if nothing pops up, that means that the BLUEGHOZT module isn't getting power, or you could have a short in your wiring somewhere. So let's say that your BLUEGHOZT module is good, all your wiring is good, you can go ahead and connect. This pop-up right here is only if you want to add a passcode for your BLUEGHOZT module. If you don't want to, just press skip. If you do want to, you can go ahead and type in any password you want. Press pair. So the next time you go to connect to the BLUEGHOZT module, it will require that passcode. So if you forget your passcode, all you need to do is disconnect power from. If you forget your passcode, all you need to do is disconnect power from the BLUEGHOZT module, and it will reset it so that next time you can either press skip or you can put in a new passcode. Once you're ready to actually connect, we'll hit BLUEGHOZT module. I'm gonna skip this time because I don't want a passcode on it. It's connecting down here in the bottom. Once the Wi-Fi signal is up, that means it has fully connected. So from this page, you're gonna hit the home button. That's gonna pull up show modes. It's going to look just like this whenever you open a brand new BLUEGHOZT module. All you need to do is click plus, and then you can go through and select any show mode you want and start customizing them. My personal favorite is Kaleidoscope. Okay, let's say you plug in your lights, you turn them on, and they look like this. So what this is what's going on here is that the BLUEGHOZT module has a different setting for the LED chip that is being used. So the BLUEGHOZT module is set to a different LED chip right out of the box, but you can actually go in and change which LED chip is being used. So you can change it to any of the, in this case, we're using the GRBW, and the way that you can check to make sure that you have the correct chip selected is go to a quick way you can check to see if you have the right LED selected is by going to the solid color solid show mode and changing the color in the color wheel. So red was red, blue is blue, and green is green. I definitely recommend taking a minute to mess with the settings all in here because you can change all 6 colors. If you want, you can just run one color, or you can go through and change individual colors. So let's say I don't want yellow, we can change it down here to white, and now it changed the yellow to white on the taillights. Or we can go back. You can also change the different size of the colors. So now there's going to be a lot more colors on the taillights that show up at once, or if I want it bigger, we can go bigger. Now that just looks like solid color changing taillights. We can even change the speed of it by changing the color shift. We'll slow it down. Now it's way slower. And you have 2 ways to dim the lights. So the master dimmer here, so if you want to just have them barely on, you can do that. That's going to change all of the colors. Down here, you can select an individual color and turn that color down. So now red isn't all the way on. We can do the same with any other individual color. I'm gonna change color shift here, smaller, so we have a lot more color showing up. I wanna save this. So I'm gonna hit the home button. Now it has been saved here. We can change the name of it. We're gonna do test 1 and back. It saved it as test 1. We can click on it anytime. Next up, I want to add a couple more show modes. Have to have a police mode, so we did a couple of different ways to play the show modes if you want. You can just click on it, which of course is going to be the easiest. You can also select an order by hitting this first button. So as you can see, I've got them counted at 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then down here, press play. That's going to be a cycling show mode. That's going to cycle through all of the selected show modes, and you can also change how often it switches. So the factory setting is 5 seconds, which I actually think is pretty good, but if you wanted to do an entire minute of one show mode and then it switch, you can do that, or you can go all the way down to 2 seconds.
Okay, now that you have connected the BLUEGHOZT module and you've messed with the show modes, those are two very important steps. You actually have to set up the BLUEGHOZT module to work with these lights.
What we need to do to actually set up these lights is we need to click on the building blocks tab here on the bottom. That's going to pull up a page just like this, left and right. What we're doing is telling the module how many LEDs are installed. So click the plus, click the plus. We're going to tell it what kind of LEDs are in there. In this case, it is a strip, so we can leave it alone right there. Set this to Starfall. And we're actually going to take away LEDs.
I'm currently using a tester BLUEGHOZT module, so it is a little bit different for this specific set than other sets. This test module here shorted out, so I only have one side, meaning that only the left side of this BLUEGHOZT module is actually working. The right side isn't working at all. So whenever you go to set up your BLUEGHOZT module, you're just gonna copy what I do on the left side to the right.
You can see that on the taillights, the outer part of the taillight is turned off. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna want to add LEDs until it completely fills out the left side of the taillight. So we're at 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, looks like 28 LEDs for the left side. Once you have added the 28 LEDs, you're going to want to make sure that this save feature is completely done with its circle and goes away. Otherwise, it will not save and you'll have to redo it next time. A couple of other things that we see down here. These buttons right here, the two arrows, are for the turn signal inputs. So right now I have the left turn signal input turned on for the left taillight. Now if I turn on the right turn signal, it only turns on with the right turn signal input. And if you really wanted to, you could turn them both on so that it turns on no matter which turn signal input fires. But we're going to leave the left turn signal on. The next one is going to be parking lights 1 and 2. The reason that they have 2 is because you can actually add another set on here. So let's say I wanted to separate out each individual jewel on the Mustang taillights. I could do that on here just by setting these like this. We have 8 on the first strip. On the second one, we're also going to set it to 8, but we're going to set the offset at 8. Okay, so now we have one set to parking light 1 and one set to parking light 2. So if you go back over to the car section, you have parking lights 1 and parking lights 2. So we can set this to red, and the next one we can set to white. Now watch what happens whenever I turn on the parking lights to the left side. As you can see, it turned on 2 different colors. The reason you would want to have that as an option is because you can use this one BLUEGHOZT module to wire up your headlights and your taillight. What you would do is you would wire up your headlights like you would normally, and then daisy chain the headlights out and go all the way back to the taillights, and then wire up your taillights like you would normally. Then you would set up in the app to tell it which ones were your headlights and which ones were your taillights. Obviously, white would most likely be your headlights, and red would be your taillight. But that's a little ridiculous for such a small light, so we're going to go ahead and trash that extra one. Turn this back to 28, and keep it on parking light 1 and left turn signal for the left taillight. What we also have is brake lights. The next icon is for your brake lights. You can actually turn the brake light function on and off for a individual strip. Just like with the last one, you could turn off the brake light feature for your headlights so that they didn't flash every time you hit your brakes, and just the taillights would flash. Next up after that is show mode. So if you wanted to turn off show mode for a specific set of lights, you can. So you can see I just unselected that. We'll go back, turn on our show mode, and now just the right side is turning on. So we can go back here, click show mode again, and it turns it on and off. So I did kind of gloss over it earlier, but I want to talk about the offset and direction that's in there. You'll have 2 slider bars, offset and direction. Offset is exactly what it sounds like. You can change when the LED strips start to turn on.
I did not like my explanation here, so I'm gonna re-record it. You use the offset slider whenever you're adding new strips, halos, or matrices to the LED selection, and you would offset it however many pixels you have on the first one, or you can even add a few extra or a few less, depending on where you have the second strip, halo, or matrix set up. So, for example, if you have a really long LED strip going all across the top like this, and you have a halo that sits really close to the end, you can offset it less than however many this LED strip is, so that it fires at this point in the LED strip instead of waiting till the very end to fire. It just ends up making your overall build really clean. Like with your turn signal, it'll all flow at once instead of the LED strip firing and then going back and firing the halo or strip or matrix.
And direction. So if for whatever reason you need to change the direction of the LEDs, you can do that right here. So now you can see that the left side is going in the opposite direction. So the best part of all of that is that let's say you mess up the wiring, or your builder messed up a little bit and put your turn signal in wrong, or put those strips in backwards or something, and just didn't catch it before you sealed them up. You can actually fix it in the app. Of course, for this set, we're going to put our direction back to normal. There we go. Okay, now let's go to the car page. This is where you're going to set up your turn signal, your parking lights, and your brake lights. Turn signal for these specific lights, we obviously want to have as red. Naturally, I believe that the BLUEGHOZT module starts out somewhere in the amber area, like right around there, but we want it to be red. So we're gonna have it set to red. And you can go in and change any of your turn signal. I like wave or sequence a lot. We'll start with wave, and then you can change the size of it and the speed of it. Of course, the best option is going to be somewhere in the middle. This size is usually pretty good for most OEM turn signal speeds, so that's typically why I land right in here. Now, the parking lights, this is one of my favorite features of the entire BLUEGHOZT module, is that you can change how the parking lights turn on and off. Of course, if you just want them to turn on and off, just set it to basic. Definitely play with some of these. My favorite one is Rainbow Road, and I always set it to the biggest size and the slowest speed so that there's as much rainbow happening as possible. And of course, if you're going to use the brake light signal, then you can go in and change it to an F1 style strobing and change the speed and duration. This set is sadly not going to get any because the OEM LEDs are going to outshine the addressable LEDs. Another thing with with any of these settings here, you can actually go in and turn down the brightness of the LEDs. Of course, whenever you do that, it does have this little error. Just turn up the brightness and that goes away.